Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back in on this Monday. Let's get the weekend off, or the week off started right. Back in after a trip to Montverde, a big weekend for Indiana basketball as they get another road win over Maryland, and the NFL. All kinds of things going on over the weekend. It was a gigantic sports weekend. Plenty to do, plenty to watch, and plenty to keep you busy. Hope you're having a great day and a good start. And we get you started off on your week right. While I was on my trip, I do want to give some shout outs. First of all, to the San Joaquin family for being such a, they gave me a ride over to the arena a time or two. So great to meet them. They live down there in Winter Garden. Listen to the show. Jason Carroll, ran into him. How about this? He was one of the officials working at the Montverde games. I was at the Montverde Academy Invitational Tournament over the weekend in Montverde, Florida, where Jalen Hood Schifino plays, as well as Derek Queen, KJ Evans, who Indiana is also recruiting. Jalen, commit, of course. We'll talk about all that. Plenty. We'll hear from Jalen this tomorrow, probably. We'll hear from his mom, Angel. What a great family they have. Watching those games, and more importantly, we'll get to course to IU's game with Maryland. Don Fischer joins us here soon. Looking forward to Charlie Miller today as well. Jim Reamer will be on with us, maybe Dustin Dopirak even. So we could have a loaded show. But watching these games at Montverde, this championship game Saturday was just nuts. First of all, Montverde, there's Jason. Speaking of Jason Carroll, official from Shelbyville, Indiana originally, and lives down there now. How about that? But you've got IU fans all over the place. Jody, Miss Jody, ma'am, she is originally from Kokomo, was volunteering down there, also an IU fan. So IU fans everywhere. It was fun to get to meet and talk to them, and there's more as well. So that was pretty cool. What was I talking about, John? I lost my train of thought. Oh, the games. These games are absolutely, and I knew this championship game about 2 minutes in. I'm like, holy cow, this is just going to be absolutely nuts. And it was. It would ultimately go to overtime and be won on a buzzer-beating 3-point shot by Montverde's Sky Clark, who's headed to Kentucky. Montverde's starting five is heading to Kentucky, Duke, Indiana, Texas, and Florida. You would think that they're going to run away against any team. No, they were playing another team that had 5 Division I starters as well, and Calvary Christian from Fort Lauderdale Academy. What a heck of a game that was. Calvary Christian had their way for a good part of that game until toward the end, and Montverde just put it on and got it to overtime and ended up winning that game. Like I said, on a buzzer-beating 3-point shot. The students went berserk. That was a dangerous court storming. I had to grab my stuff and hold on at the table, and there were tables knocked over. I think I got a video I may have to shoot up, but a photographer, I think, from Montverde got knocked to the ground, and she looked like she was kind of shaken up a little bit. But all in all, it was fun. But, yeah, that's why that court storming business, those, I guess maybe the high school students aren't quite as smart about it. But it was a heck of an environment. I couldn't believe how loud it was in there, man. There was only like 250 students, it seemed, but man, oh man, were they loud. But the talent I got to see was incredible. The games I got to watch, awesome. Jalen Hood-Schifino. This was basically like watching back in the day. Freshmen were not, most of us don't remember when freshmen were not eligible to play varsity sports in at the collegiate level. Back in the 60s, 70s, I think that changed around early 70s. But freshmen were not allowed to play, so they had freshman teams. This was like watching a college freshman basketball team play, because that's this level. These kids are all freshmen in college, essentially. They are a level up. It was without question, if you wanted to call it a high school game, the best high school game I've ever seen and probably will ever see. From a talent and competitive aspect. It was great. The fight, the game was being played above the rim. It was just super fun to watch from a fan standpoint. The stars were out. Grant Hill was there. Who else did I mention yesterday? Was it Francisco Lindor, the shortstop for the Mets, was there? Another Montverde grad. Cade Cunningham was supposed to have been there Thursday. I think his plane was late, couldn't make it in. Montverde's their alumni like to come back. It's a big deal. Derek Queen and KJ Evans also in action. Two others in Indiana are recruiting. Derek Queen looked pretty good. Big dude, man, just a sophomore. Big guy. He reminds me of a baby Thomas Bryant. Not quite as big. He's not 6'. I think he's only 6'8" right now. I don't know if he's going to grow more, but he's kind of like a baby Thomas Bryant. He needs to improve his footwork, but he's a load in there, man. And he's going to be a good player. Then you've got KJ Evans, who is yet to really show his abilities, I think. He's got so much talent around him, but he's got such athletic ability, a lot of length. It's just crazy when you get to see all that talent up close and playing against each other. So that was wild. Will Indiana be in the top 25 this week? Big question. Rick Bozich, who joins us on Wednesday and should be with us on Wednesday, is a voter. I noticed his had his poll out, and he has Indiana number 23 this week. 6 teams in the Big Ten. In the Big Ten, he has Auburn at number 1. After he magically was able to snag that lifelong contract deal. I was just laughing when I kept hearing that Louisville was interested in, like, there is no stinking way Louisville could go hire Bruce Pearl. He's got nothing but baggage. You can't, so I cannot imagine that there was actually truth to that. I saw that they reached out to him, but I find that so hard to believe because of the situation they're in. Now, it did work for Bruce Pearl. Did that come from Bruce Pearl's camp? Probably. Because I knew exactly what that was like. Oh, perfect. Strike when the iron's hot, baby. Now, I didn't expect him to get a lifetime contract out of the deal, but you know he's happy. Rick's got Gonzaga second, UCLA third. Says the Bruins play the next 4 on the road. Hello. Starting with the game they're expected to lose at Arizona on Thursday. Yikes. Kentucky, big win over Kansas. So Rick's got them at number 4. Houston, number 5. They're unbeaten in the AAC. Duke were without their point guard against Louisville. Still won that game by about 10, it looked like. Purdue, I guess they had a last-second win over Ohio State from Jaden Ivey. Just going down through there, Villanova, Baylor, the usual suspects. Michigan State, Spartans have lost 2 Big Ten games by a combined margin of 3 points. One of those was at home to Northwestern. I don't know how that was possible, but that's pretty tight. Indiana has to go there soon. Number 12, he's got the Jayhawks. Says they look like a 3-17 team against Kentucky, although they're 17-3. Followed by Providence, Wisconsin, Texas Tech, Illinois, Indiana's next opponent. Let's see. Then Ohio State, USC, UConn, Texas, Tennessee, Miami, Indiana. Saying the Hoosiers have all week to prepare for Illinois' visit to Simon Scott Assembly Hall on Saturday. That is a gigantic game. Man, oh man, you get Illinois at home. You're playing Indiana's playing possibly the best basketball of the season right now. They're not perfect. They, on Saturday, while they shot 43% from the field, the 3-point shooting, 30% at 6 for 20. Luckily, Maryland was worse at 6 for 27 at 22%. But their overall defense is still smothering. They held Maryland to 29% shooting overall at home at Maryland. I mean, this defense is no joke. When you can't score, it makes it tough on teams. They're continuing to take better care of the ball. They did have 10 turnovers, but hey, that's underneath the 12 threshold. Maryland was forced into 13 turnovers. Indiana is capitalizing on those. 15 points off of those turnovers. Rebounding was even. They didn't lose the rebounding. 19 points off of the bench versus 3 for Maryland. And where's the paint points? Yeah. Points in the paint, 20 for Maryland, 36 for Indiana. Of course, monster day for Race Thompson. 18 and 12. Trace Jackson Davis, of course, 17 points. 9 rebounds, almost had 2 in double figures. I mean, 2 double-doubles. Crazy. I think we got to take a break. We'll talk more about this and plenty more. Don Fischer's going to join us next. Charlie Miller join us later. All kinds of. We'll hear from Mike Woodson, Race Thompson, and Christian Lander as well. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by our good friends at Southern Stone Restaurant at Patterson and Rogers. Tonight at 7:05, Don Fischer's coming up next. We'll be there with Woody for Inside Indiana Basketball. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Whether it's a celebration.
Dustin confirmed with me during that segment, so he'll be here at 9:20. I guess Charlie's busy today.
Oh, there's Sam. Sam's on. Jason's on.
Well, yeah, you picked up a Florida fan base from being down there for a weekend.
Well, we already had it. It just met
I
them.
know. I'm just being silly.
Gives me a reason to start going down there and doing some shows down here in Florida, man.
Mm-hmm.
Although it was not exactly hot in.
Yeah, in the middle of January, you're kind of pressing your luck for good weather.
It didn't really matter. I was in a gym, so.
Yeah. Then you say that area is kind of like hilly.
A gym and a freaking ER. No. It's
Like it's not near a beach or anything, though, right?
out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Don.
What's going on, Jimbo?
Happy weekend for you. So it's a happy weekend for all of us.
Well, I don't know how happy it was, but at least I've survived it.
I was down at Montverde watching Schifino play.
Oh, really?
It's like watching. I know that you weren't calling the games in, but I can't remember when the freshmen used to not be able to play, obviously, and the NCAA changed that rule. But this was in essence like watching a college freshman team play each other. These guys are Montverde starting 5 are going to Indiana, Kentucky, Duke, Florida, and Texas.
Wow. How good is Schifino?
He looks like he is looking in 2 different directions at all the time. And I love that. He is just paying attention. He's just got great vision. You can just tell he's always looking and always not just one spot. He's not keying on guys. He's big enough that he can get loose underneath because he's 6'5". He can get up, got a good shot. He could play right now. I mean, I'm not saying he would take Xavier's spot, but He would come off the bench. He would definitely play right now.
How athletic is he?
Very.
All right, here we go. 15 seconds. Don, if you have something to say real quick, you're good.
No, it's all right. No big deal.
Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington at Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat here on this Monday. Joined now by the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer. Don, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Jim. How are you?
Doing fine. Both of us getting back from weekend road trips. You were in College Park, Maryland, the site of Indiana's 68-55 road win and their second Big Ten road win, but they looked pretty daggone good in this one. They didn't leave much doubt.
No, it was a really impressive performance. I was scared to death of this Maryland team because they had played they beat Illinois by 16, 17 points leading up to this ball game, and they beat Rutgers on the road at Rutgers, which everybody knows that's almost an impossible place to win these days. And they had played 2 of their best basketball games of the season. I was anticipating that this is going to be a real tussle for this Indiana ball club, and Indiana came out after an 8-0 early lead for Maryland. They just dominated the rest of the ball game, and Indiana played terrific at both ends of the floor. Had great inside play from Race and Trace. Both those guys played terrific. All of a sudden, we're getting 3-point shooting from Race Thompson, who has hit his last 4 threes. Talk about a team that's on fire in that regard. And of course, they were 10 of 13 against Penn State leading up to that game from 3-point land. So it was really an impressive win. I was excited to see Indiana play like they did in that matchup. There's no question that Indiana is starting to play some of their best basketball here at the season. And I think one of the reasons is because of Xavier Johnson. This guy, he didn't shoot the ball well against Maryland at all, but he still did all the other things. He had 9 assists in the ball game, didn't turn the ball over but twice. So his turnover ratio was terrific. When you look at this team, and you're going to have to have this out of Xavier Johnson right now with Rob Finnessy being out. You've got to have great decision-making and getting the ball where it needs to go. And certainly with X's play here in the last 3-4 ball games now, you've seen that. This is a ball club right now that's playing up to their capability, in my opinion. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to get beat, because there are some teams out there that are playing terrific basketball, but they've got a week to kind of get back healthy again, whether it's all health or issues or whatever the case may be. But they've got a week here to maybe rest up a little bit after not having any kind of a break since the holidays.
Charlie Miller, you're with us now. Absolutely. You would know better to that than I would.
No. I mean, Don knows too. Don's been around the game. I think we all know. No, what I'm most excited about, fellas. Good morning, by the way. Is this Trey Galloway? How about him attacking the rim?
Yeah.
Trey, how about him knocking down shots? And I think Trey's
4 of 5
great line attacks are because Race is now commanding attention. I mean,
Right.
when you get that, and with Geronimo, who's always had a great mid-range shot, he's making that shot. They're attacking. This Jim, to me, about 3 weeks ago, we were like, okay, have they found their identity? I think we found it, and it's the X factor, pun intended. And I think it was the streaky play of his that we weren't used to as a point guard. But you don't go from averaging 16 points to not attacking. You're not doing that. Okay, that's what he did at Pitt. That's what he's doing now, and it's paying dividends.
Yeah,
it's opening up.
You're right. I mean, I put what Indiana's been able to accomplish here in the last couple of weeks. I put it right at the feet of Xavier Johnson.
Yes.
His decision making is so much better than it was. He's obviously been able to shoot the ball pretty well. He didn't in the Maryland game, but you're going to have a game or two like that. He's not a superstar shooter by any stretch of the imagination, but for the most part, he's not forcing anything. And
right.
that's one of the things he was struggling with before. He would try to take games over sometimes when really it wasn't necessary, in my opinion. And that said, the game has slowed down for him. Mike has said that a couple of times now, that the game has kind of slowed down for him. He's starting to figure out his teammates. It does take time. It's a process. You wanted it to happen. You wanted it to happen a lot sooner than it did. But all of a sudden, it seemed they seem to be clicking. This whole ball club seems to be clicking right now. And the bench play has gotten a lot better here of late. Galloway, as you pointed out, has been terrific. Geronimo's been really, really good. You've had other people step up. Obviously, Christian Lander gets some playing time for the first time this year in Big Ten play. He previously, I don't think the last time he played a game was back in mid to late December. December 22nd or something like that. Merrimack, I can't remember, but that's the last time he actually played some minutes on the floor, and he comes into the ball game, and even though he got 4 fouls, he got a little foul trouble there. Actually, he did a pretty good job and knocked down a couple of shots. So honestly, this team is starting to find itself. And this little break that they've got this week, leading up to Illinois this coming Saturday, I think it's necessary because I think these guys are a little bit tired right now. They've been fighting through a little bit of some injuries and bumps and bruises, that kind of thing. I think this is a really good time for this Indiana basketball team to kind of get healthy again and be rested a little bit.
Yeah, what perfect timing, Don, to get this week off. You've got Illinois coming in. But there cannot be a team in America, and maybe there isn't, I've missed them, but the inside presence that Indiana has right now with Race and Trace. Race Thompson is a first-team Big Ten. If Trace Jackson is not on this team, he's first-team Big Ten candidate right now. And at worst, he's second-team, period. You cannot get double-double after double-double in this league and not be considered one of the best big men that's in the league. And he's got Trace Jackson Davis next to him, who's also one of the best. So
right.
He's not – I'm not saying he's not getting the credit he's due. Maybe he is or isn't, but he has been the linchpin all season for this team because he's been doing this almost all season and continues to do it no matter what.
Well, and the other thing about that, and then he's added the three-point shooting to his repertoire. I mean, if he continues to do that consistently well, you talk about a guy that's absolutely helping this team open up the floor and giving Trace even more opportunities, which, at this point, I'm sure the rest of the league would not like to see that happen. But I just, you just have to be excited for what you've seen here this past week, especially. The three-point shooting by Race Thompson has been terrific. He's 4 for 4. I think 5 of his last 6 have gone down.
And he was 3 of 27 prior to
Right.
that for like 10% or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, but here's the other thing. And I think this kind of speaks to what Mike Woodson has tried to do with these guys. He has told them, I want you to shoot the basketball if you're open. If you're open, I want you to shoot it. And honestly, the only person that hasn't, those words haven't fallen on in a way that's changed it. Well, Parker, but at the same time, I mean, Trace Jackson Davis is still not shooting outside shots, period.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's got to change for him. He's got to start knocking down some outside shots. But all that said, all of a sudden you've got a 3-point shooter that's 6'8" out there that hasn't taken many in the past, and now he's knocking those things down. Now you've got somebody else you have to deal with, and that just changes the game defensively for a lot of these basketball teams that Indiana's going to face.
And Charlie, speaking of that, Illinois is up next. That's going to create a very difficult defensive challenge for them. Yeah, they have Kofi Coburn, but Indiana's got Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson, as Don just pointed out, and Race is moving all over the place, causing havoc.
Well,
what does that do to a team having a guy like Race Thompson?
Those are scary hours. I'm going to tell you why. Because now you can put Race on the strong side in the corner on the wing when Trace is posting up. You can't help, because Race is also a good person at the rim. He plays above the rim. Then you got your shooters on the weak side, where if you try to double team, and Trace is pretty good at the skip pass. I mean, you got a pretty good spread, which is going to me, the closer you play anybody on closeouts, the more lanes you have to drive. And we're already a really good athletic front court. We can get up to rebound the ball. We can keep the plays alive after misses. That's scary. That's really scary. And you said it earlier, Jim. I think the only team that rivals our front court may be like a top 2-3 Gonzaga. That's just my opinion, my assessment, right? It might be a little biased. I probably wore a little red and white before, but man, those guys are athletic. I'm just always saying 4 little words every time I see all those guys go up. I'm like, man, I like those. I mean, it's ridiculous how easy they look. They make dunks. They just go up and just dunk it like it's nothing. I mean, we got a really good front court, and I'm hoping that Race can continue to play just for him. He's the Robin, man. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, he won't get a lot of credit because Trace commands a lot of attention because he's a potential All-American like he is. But man, Race is doing a great job of coming into his own game in his own zone, owning his zone, and that's what I love to see.
I think the other guy too that we don't talk about him as much, but he continues to impress, and that's Jordan Geronimo. That's another frontline guy that he can come off the bench and give you really positive minutes out there. He had 8 rebounds in that ball game. I mean, when you look at this basketball team, it's not a one-man show by any stretch of the imagination, and you're getting really good point guard play now out of Xavier. You're getting guys coming off the bench like Galloway and Geronimo that are giving you positive things from their perspective. You've got the bigs inside and Trace and Race now hitting 3-point shots. I mean, there's so many things now that you have to deal with this Indiana basketball team. I think other coaches are probably going to be staying up nights trying to figure this thing out.
Fellas, I wanted to say one more thing that you guys said, and I just want to give a player's perspective, former player. When a coach tells you in confidence, shoot it, you don't understand the magnitude. I don't know if people understand that. That's relaxed aggression. Now that's scary for coaches to game plan against, because now everybody's eyes light up when they catch it. No longer can you sag off because they know they can't do wrong, and I'm not coming out for missed shots. Not saying that was Archie's case. I'm not saying that. But when a coach gives you confidence, guys, that's a whole nother world.
Yeah.
Well, and he has shown that not just in the shooting,
right,
but go to Rob Fennessy's case and just the confidence of playing his overall game. he has done nothing, Don, but try to give this team the confidence that they seem like they had lost in themselves as a team and all that. It may have taken him a few months, but it looks like that is gone. And we're looking at the results. They're playing pretty damn well together, and there's no reason not to expect that will continue to improve.
Well, that's the big story right there. Can they continue to improve? Can they get better at what they're doing right now? And obviously, to win that ball game at Maryland on the road, just your second true road win of the year, that's huge for the confidence level as well. And now you've got a couple of days to rest here, get guys back healthy again if they're not 100% at this point. Obviously, we don't know what Finney's status will be come Saturday, but hopefully he can get back playing again and help this ball club also. But there's so many positives going on right now with this basketball team. Indiana fans got to be really excited, and they should be.
Indiana is currently 6th, I guess you'd say, in the Big Ten right now,
Right.
but they're only 2 games back of league leading Wisconsin and Illinois, who they play this week. So they can cut. We're talking about Indiana being within 2 games of the lead and potentially a game of the lead after this weekend. Not that I'm thinking about a Big Ten championship this year, but the fact that they are within reach of that is almost crazy at this point from where we were just 2 months ago.
Well, and I think the one thing you have to remember here is that this ball club, when they got together this year, they have the transfers, they're trying to incorporate a different style of play, all the things that a first-year coach has to do to get your ball club ready. If you do the right things start to come together as the season progresses. And honestly, that's what we're seeing right now. If you've got the right people in the right places and you've got guys understanding how important they are to the program, how important they are to the team, and the things that you believe they can do. And again, we're talking about that confidence factor that Mike has tried to instill in these players. It's a great recipe for a ball club that struggled and has had their moments this year of negativity. Obviously, the Michigan game being one of those. But to bounce back from that ball game and to win these past 2 after you've given up, after that Michigan blowout that you suffered, that's telling you that this team is pretty resilient too in its thinking process. So there's not too much you can say negative right now about this Indiana basketball team, and if they continue to progress, this team's going to be something to deal with as the season moves forward.
Yeah, they already have 16 wins on the season. If they've got Illinois at home, and then you have to travel to Northwestern, which there are no easy games. I don't care who you play. Northwestern beat Michigan State and East Lansing, but if they can get those 2 in, you get 18 wins with 4 games left to play. They're on a roll. They've got to play Michigan State yet, but they get Wisconsin at home. You've got to go to Ohio State, and then you finish with Maryland. Or no, actually, they'll finish at Purdue. I forgot about that one. But,
Purdue, yeah.
But they're playing well. Even if they were to go to Purdue and lose, they're playing well right now, and they're playing as a team. They're playing the way that the fans need to see them play. But more importantly, going into the end of the season, Don.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting run here at the end. There's no question about it. Probably their toughest portion of their schedule is upcoming here in the next couple of weeks. They've got 5 straight ball games that they could lose them all. I mean, that's who they're playing. The teams that they're playing, they could get beat in every one of those ball games where they're playing in those kinds of things. But right now, you've got to feel really positive about what you're seeing from this Indiana basketball program.
Absolutely. Tonight, I know you'll be at Patterson and Rogers at Southern Stone Restaurant at 7:05 with Coach Woodson for Inside Indiana Basketball.
That's if I don't test positive. I mean, literally, you guys don't know this, but I've done the last 3 ball games virtually because of COVID.
Has it been 10 days yet?
Well, basically it should be 10 days, but it's not quite there. But I'm still testing positive. I'm going to test today, and maybe if I test today and I'm still COVID positive,
we're going to send you to a different testing center.
Yeah, then I'm going to have to do the game, do the show tonight on Zoom. So we'll see.
Well, we'll hope for the best, but looking forward to that. Ouch. Either way, we'll get to hear you, but it has been a great way to see this season come together, and looking forward to that, and looking forward to seeing you on, I guess, Saturday, if not tonight.
Yep. Look forward to it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Don Fischer joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. We're back with Dustin, Shooty. Charlie Miller, are you able to stick around? I can't remember if you have to go after this.
I have to go. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry about that. I appreciate you, man, for letting me just get on for a minute.
We'll talk to Charlie next week as well. Dustin Dopirak will join us next here on Indiana Sports Beat. Brought to you by Andy Moore Honda. Charlie, you have a great day, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
I guess yep.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Sports on television.
Wow, it's like air traffic control in here, man. Dustin, how are you, sir?
Doing good, man. About yourself?
Can't complain. Plenty to get to, man. What a weekend.
Yeah.
I assume you went because I saw you were writing.
I did, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I was in Maryland.
I was in Mount Verde watching Schifino.
Oh, nice.
The first time I personally gotten to see him play.
Mm-hmm.
And the best, I said it earlier, the best way to describe watching those guys play, it's like, I didn't see it back in those days, but back in the days when the NCAA did not allow freshmen to play.
Yeah.
And like all the schools had freshman team.
Yeah.
This was like watching a college freshman teams play each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just intense, playing above the rim. Mount Verde starting five was going to Duke, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, and Texas.
Yeah.
They played Calvary Christian Academy, who also has 5 D1 starters, and they were playing a zone, and it was working for a long time. I thought they were going to win that game, but man, it turned into it went to overtime. Scott Clark hits a buzzer-beating 3 to win it. It was nuts, fun.
Nice.
Interesting.
But I got to find a way to see that guy.
It's a difference.
Guy by and go ahead.
I didn't ask him that. I was wondering that.
He's got his mom's been around a bit. I mean, I think they lived in Charlotte. I think they lived in some other places, but like his
that's right. I mean, he's from Charlotte. That's where they say he's from.
He spent a lot of time in Charlotte, but like his roots are Pittsburgh, and his uncles played at a school about 15 minutes from me. They're like,
Drew,
the Schifinos. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Drew played at West Virginia. Yeah.
Yeah. They both played high school at Penn Hills, and so did his mom. His mom was a pretty good basketball player at Penn Hills too. So all three of them were around the time I was in school. And like, I think Drew graduated the year before I did, I want to say, but Drew was one of the best 2 players in Pittsburgh at the time. And there was this other kid named Yuri Demetrius who went to Shaler and then spent a couple years at Pitt, but wasn't very good. College player, but Drew was a pretty solid college player.
When was he at West Virginia?
Like probably 04 to 08, something like that. Let me look.
I'm going to have him on.
Look at trusty basketball reference. 01 to 04. So he probably, I guess he graduated the year I did.
All right, here we go.
01 to 04.
Honda deal.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat coming to you here on this Monday, brought to you by our good friends from Remax Realty. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, make sure you reach out to Cheryl Sizemore. Her 2 decades of experience could be the difference in you getting the home that you want or not. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Joined now by our good friend Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald-Times. Dustin, how are you, sir?
Doing well, Jim. How about yourself?
Cannot complain. You were in Maryland, College Park over the weekend for a tremendous road win by Indiana. Man, that's a game that I think that may have been, you got to put the Purdue game aside, but being a road game, Maryland is not the worst team. They're not the top team in the conference, but they're not the worst team in the conference. So this was going to be a test, and they passed with flying colors.
No, they really did. I mean, you obviously don't want to put it on the scale with the Purdue game because that's one that you circle and say, when you look at the tournament, resumes at the end of the year, that's the one you look at and say, why does Indiana have to be in because they beat Purdue? But this is a sign of a team that is sturdy, that is capable of going on the road and beating a team that it's better than. But I mean, just in their arena, with a pretty big crowd at a place that cares. I mean, there were Indiana fans there too. I mean, that obviously helped IU's cause that there's a lot of IU graduates in the DC area who decided to show up for that one. But all the same, I mean, it was not an environment that there was no one there that cared about the home team. And they just handled Maryland. I mean, they were pretty much in charge for, from about the 15-minute mark on of the first half. I mean, let Maryland get going, get on an 8-0 run. But after that, I think they countered with about an 11-0 run to take control. And they were never out of control after that. And they defended really, really well, shot it well enough, not so much from outside, but were able to pound the ball into the paint and really establish themselves there. And basically, Trace Jackson-Davis and Race Thompson, they just didn't have an answer. Maryland's got a couple guys, Dante Scott and Kudus Wahab, that aren't bad players, but, Indiana dominated there. I mean, they won in the paint 36-20. Really a strong defensive effort. I thought Trey Galloway was fantastic on Eric Ayala, pretty much took him out of the game, more or less. And so you can see all the pieces really starting to come together for this group where it's a situation where they don't need emotion and the backing of a home crowd to win a basketball game. They can go out and beat a team like a Maryland that is probably an NIT team. But still be able to beat them and beat them handily, by double figures and always be controlling a road game. That is a sign of a team that's becoming healthier, that is playing a more mature, transferable brand of basketball. Mature, is another good word for it. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, this is a game I don't know that they would have won 6 weeks ago, Dustin, and it's not that long ago. But they've grown up quickly. They've come together quickly. Sure. I think Xavier Johnson has been a huge part of that. Don talked about that in the last segment. He only had 8 points, not a great shooting night against Maryland, but 9 assists. But still, his previous 3 games, he was averaging 17 points. So whatever you tack on the 8 there, he's still probably averaging
14.7. I just did the math, actually.
There you go. So I can't believe I'm that good. I'm close enough. So, but over the last, so you got a point guard that's doing that. He's going to let him. He can have off shooting nights. If he gets 9 assists, doesn't matter. He's making up those points elsewhere. The shooting of Race Thompson, and you know what? And none of us were happy to watch him shoot 3-pointers for most of the season, going 3 for 27. But his shot never looked bad.
No, it didn't.
It was never a bad shot. He just wasn't hitting. And maybe it was just a confidence thing because now he is doing just that. But it never looked bad. There are guards on this team that have worse looking shots than Race Thompson.
Oh, 100%. There are guards that have way worse looking shots than Race Thompson does by far. I mean, shoot, Xavier Johnson's the 3rd leading 3-point shooter on this team, and he's got a worse looking shot. It's funny. I watched him shooting in warmups. His ball, when his ball leaves his hand, the rotation has got a slightly. It looks like planet Earth rotating. It's not going under. It's an awkward curve. He pushed shots and he manages to get enough to fall. Especially when teams are daring him to shoot threes, he can get enough to fall. And again, he's 3rd on the team in threes made, but it is not a pretty looking shot. It just goes in sometimes. But no, Race has put up. I mean, he's got a really high arc on it. He's got a power forward's jump shot. You know, like it's kind of back behind the head, you know, big high release point there, and coming off with a lot of arc. But that's a shot that can go in. That's not a terrible shot. It doesn't look bad. It's got, like you said, pretty good spin on it. Just hasn't been able to line it up for most of the year, and he finally is. And now that he is, it makes a difference. And so, I mean, it's key for a lot of reasons. I think for one issue that they've got is because they have figured out that Galloway is their best defender, and because they can only trust Miller Kopp and, you know, Parker Stewart on defense so much. I mean, those guys can guard guys like them, but they're not shutting down an Eric Ayala. They're not shutting down Jaden Ivey, certainly. Trey Galloway can handle those type of players, but he's not a shooter. So when Galloway is getting expensive minutes, 22, 25 minutes, you know, you're down to at least you're only playing one of those guys. So they need someone else to hit some threes, or at least spread the floor, just be a threat. They don't have to they don't need to shoot 10 threes a night to win. You know, like if they can get 5, 6, 7, that really helps. But more to the point, they just need to be able to force teams to guard them to the perimeter. If you have to guard Race Thompson to the perimeter, that makes a huge difference, because that's one defender that's not clogging the lane, that at least has to chase him when he goes out there. I mean, that does something for floor spacing and makes a big difference. So now that he's made a couple in a row, if you are, if you're scouting Indiana, like, you got to tell whoever your power forward is, like, hey, you know, Race Thompson can take you outside. You can't let him have that shot. You know, like a week ago, we would have told you can let him shoot from 25 feet. Now you better go defend him, and that at least opened things up so that he's not, that guy's not just doubling on Trace Jackson Davis. Makes a difference. Makes a difference. Just anything that he can do to be able to spread the floor out, again, when they're playing Galloway, and when there's only, you know, it's Kopp or Stewart, maybe it's not even one of those guys out on the floor. That makes a difference. Just something to make sure that they're not facing a clogged paint all the time makes a difference.
And I'm going to wait until the season gets close to the end. But if things continue, Mike Woodson has to be in deep consideration for Coach of the Year. If he's able to get Christian Lander to come in and play an important, impactful role from here out, that will just be another piece that he has added slowly to this team. As from a coaching standpoint, all year long, people are complaining, well, where's Lander? Where's Lander? Where's Lander? Or where's this? Where's this? And all that. He has done exactly what he wants to do with this team, how he wants to do it, and it's working. Everyone was clamoring for Lander. Well, for one thing, he was hurt. But I don't think he was ready prior to that. But obviously he's getting closer to that, and played well enough in the Maryland game. A couple of points, two shooting, a couple of turnovers, but he's doing a fine job and bringing these guys along. And now Race Thompson, you know, shooting 10% for his first 30 shots at 3-point attempts, but kept shooting because Mike Woodson wants him kept shooting. And now that is about to become a feared weapon for this team as the season progresses. So these things continue to add up for this team in a positive way. And that's what you think of when you think of Michigan State. When everyone used to talk about, oh, they were not very good at the beginning of the year, but look at them in March. That is what you want from a team that continues to progress and get better. This team looks like it's doing that.
Right. No, I mean, I'm keeping sort of the jury out on the whole Lander situation, because I'm just sort of fascinated by how he's pulling it. I want to hear more from Christian going forward to get a better sense of what's going on there and what that's going to end up being. Now he has to play now because with Finney out, and I mean, if Finney plays this season, I mean, that's going to be impressive. I mean, like he's laid up with that thing like that. That must be. I mean, you can have really bad plantar fasciitis, you know, like, because we're really talking about that tendon down there at the bottom of your foot.
Let me tell you right now. Have you ever had it?
No,
I've
just seen. Oh, really? Yeah.
It's like someone taking scalding hot needles and shoving them into your foot. And not when you step down, but when you pull up, it's like you just get injected with hot gasoline or something. It is just horribly painful. Yeah. And it just takes You saw that boot he has. He's sleeping with a boot that will keep his foot pulled back, and it just takes time to heal. Right. Not to say he can't be back this season. He can be, and probably will be. But he's not going to play. I doubt very seriously he plays in the next game.
Yeah, no, I see no possibility. I mean, even with a week off, just the extent to which that thing looked like it ripped, like from the way he was saying, like, no, I can't. I just for another reason, I was rewatching that game last night, and like when he just even tries to come down on the foot, he's like, oh no, oh God, no. So that tells me that hurts like bad. And it's going to take a while for that thing to heal. I mean, I'd say 2-3 weeks minimum, before. So Christian Lander has to play, and I'm fascinated to see how this is going to continue to go. Like, obviously now they've got to get behind him. Might not have been the worst thing to get him a couple more minutes than he was getting. And so he's going to have to put a lot of faith in him and get some things right by that one. I'm going to be fascinated about how that one goes. Now, the thing about it is it's tough to keep everybody happy. But more to your point, though, in terms of just the base of what he's done this year, I think the most important thing that you have to say that he's done is he has, he has shown faith in all these guys, and they've rewarded him for it. I mean, he has had to walk a bunch of lines. I mean, with Finney is a particular, one where it was basically like, when he said, like, I recruited Xavier Johnson to start, and I pretty much told Rob Finney he was not going to start, but he was important and he was going to matter. And Rob Finney never complained. And he continued to tell him, like, Rob, we need you. Like, you're going to be important on this team, and found a way to make it so that it wasn't just Xavier Johnson's position, and Rob Finney wasn't just, picking up 10 minutes a game or whatever. Getting him 20 and making him involved and making him matter was a big deal, has been a big deal. But sticking with Xavier Johnson when the fan base was mad at him and was annoyed that he was turning the ball over too much and forcing stuff and whatever, like saying, like, no, like, you don't boo that guy, that's my guy, I'm going to tell him when he screws up, you guys shut up, I got it. That's a big deal. I mean, like, just when these guys feel his confidence, like, it makes a difference to them. Like, he has, I think it's mattered for Trace Jackson Davis. It certainly mattered for Race Thompson. A lot of these guys, I think, feel like he's got their back, and he, I think, just does a really good job of connecting. Again, Finney in particular. I mean, like, we've talked about confidence with this kid as long as he's been there, and he's as confident as I've ever seen him. I mean, like, there's still times when he's too passive, still, getting to the point of really trusting himself when he takes shots. But, man, it was there when it came to Purdue. And, like, that, this is a case of he seems to keep these guys on a level, and I don't know exactly how he does it, but just by giving these guys faith, telling you, Mike Woodson believes it. He says, like he speaks in the third person when he says this, Coach Woodson believes you, he's got your back, and that obviously is something that they take and see as genuine, and it's done wonders for him. And I think he is part of the Coach of the Year discussion. Obviously, you wait until see how it all shakes out and who's where at the end. I mean, I'm sure Izzo's going to get his consideration as always. I imagine Painter's going to get some consideration for building, that Purdue team, depending on how it shakes out. Brad Underwood probably gets, some level of consideration if Illinois continues to be really good, maybe even Greg Gard. But Woodson's got to be in the discussion especially if it ends up being a top 5, top 6 team in the league.
And I fully expect them to be there. A little bit of breaking news for you, for the listening audience. Chuck Crabb, long-time, 45-year PA announcer at Simon Scott Assembly Hall, announces his retirement from Indiana. So Chuck has been around longer than I have been, longer than Dustin has been, and as long as most of our audience members as well, I would assume. But he's also been in charge of the facilities here for several years, but most know him on that microphone since the 70s, man. It's just iconic. You come into Assembly Hall. Assembly Hall is an iconic venue in and of itself, and he is a part of that iconic venue to me. That I mean, it's like Don Fischer. They are so unique. I know that. I went to IU, so there's that, but I've been to tons of places, and everyone loves their guys, but Don Fischer is one of the best ever, and Chuck Crabb is just he's up there as far as PA guys go, man. He's just been a unique force at Assembly Hall.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when again, like you said, everybody loves their guys, but and it's particularly people that have been in an institution and be there for a long time, and it's not a revolving door. And like that goes different ways to how it goes. But like when somebody's voice is one that you just recognize and associate with being in the building, like it's just part of it. Like when you don't eat like. Chuck Crabb is one of those people. You just associate that when you're in Assembly Hall, like like everything that you hear over a loudspeaker. Like if it were ever, if Chuck was just sick one day, like you'd be like, this is a totally different experience. It's because it's just part of it. Like whenever he uses the word sophomore, like it is iconic, and it's just like that's part of
player control foul.
Yeah, exactly. Like all of those, like all of
everyone has their favorite Chuck Crabbisms. And that's the great thing. If you don't have your favorite Louisville had a guy named John Tong years ago, and he had the unique cadence back in the Darrell Griffith days. They'd goal by Griffith. Everything was goal by Scooter McCrae.
Right.
It was steps called. His walking was steps called. The great ones have their unique characteristics. Chuck does, those guys did, and that's what makes them special.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just the smallest of things seem to make a difference. Like again, with
you grew up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Who was your guys? I know the Steelers and the Pirates had to have those guys.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I'm trying so it's different guys with everybody. Obviously,
Penn State.
In terms of broadcasting, obviously the top of the list in terms of being iconic and unforgettable was Myron Cope on the Steelers radio broadcast. God, am I going to try to do this? Am I going to try to do Cope?
Yes, you have to.
Like, I mean, he is got the most like crotchety Inzer accent, and he is just, I mean, overly excitable. He's like, it's like, God, I can't remember. Like, was like another thing. It's like, and he was just so all over the place. But like, Cope was, between first off, Cope invented the terrible towel. Like that's his thing.
No kidding.
He had basically like, and he wrote like this big legend about it, about how like, I can't even remember what it was.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, Cope was an institution. When I tell you this guy is the most important,
the terrible towel is an institution.
The terrible towel is an institution. He invented.
So he's an institution that created an institution. That's pretty damn cool.
100%. And to understand Pittsburgh and Yinzerism, like you have to start with Myron Cope. Like that's kind of the first guy you need to understand.
I love the old baseball guys were always the best. I mean, there was, if I had Kyle Nedrip on today, he would sure say the guy that was from Detroit. I forget his name, that did Detroit baseball, but of course, Vin Scully out in LA. But the Boston guy that did Boston, Johnny something. I was like, I never did understand their love for him. He sounded like he was smoking 8 packs of Marlboros a day. But
that's
there's a still by bird to DJ Scars. Mm-hmm. He's got that raspy voice, but everybody loves it, and it didn't matter how they all love their guys. But Chuck Crabb
it connects to the city like that, and that's that's how Don does, and that's how Chuck does. So it just connects.
With Chuck announcing his retirement, not saying Don was just on with us, so not pushing Don out the door, but we're probably a few years away from Don hanging it up. I hope not. I hope that's not the case.
I feel like if I even suggest that this is a problem, like he's like this might happen.
Oh,
he might kick both our butts the next time he sees us. Like, don't.
There's no might. There's no might. That's why.
Like what? Why are you trying to get us in trouble here, Jim? That's what.
Yeah, no. It's like I'm like down the road.
Down the road.
Down the
Don
road.
Is a machine. Like Don is like.
He looks younger than we do.
What's that?
He looks. Not only does he look younger than we do. Let me tell you. I took part in I forget when it was. Not a few months back. A softball thing that they had. They had us out there at the softball, the skills competition thing. Don was out there
too. Don raked. Yeah.
Don was in the final. I had just hurt my neck, so I couldn't really give it to it. But Don was in the final and probably should have won, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Competitive as all get out.
Oh, yeah.
Right now. Plays. Yeah. Don's not going anywhere.
No.
So don't know. Yeah. But
But
when you have those guys are there for so long and they leave, it leaves a big hole. And I don't think anyone's going to leave a bigger hole than when Don Fischer leaves.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a tough one to fill.
How are you the guy that replaces him?
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's the tough part is because you also got to be in a situation where like there's got to, and it's tough in college towns in particular because it's getting someone in sort of the line of succession that wants to stay. And that's hard, because it's a college town and it's a great media school. And so like a lot of these kids come up and, they do play-by-play for something that is smaller than basketball and football, and they move on to bigger jobs. And so it's like, how long do you want to stay to wait for Don to retire? And when Don retires, how long do you want to stay? That's the tough question is being in that situation and saying, I want to be the institution. I want to live in, a college town for all of my days. And I want to be the guy that's there for, 20, 30 years, 40 years, whatever it is. That's tough. I mean, I know, at Penn State, I was there, I think when Steve Jones, who's the guy now, was on basketball when I was there. And then I think he got football, maybe my senior year, something along those lines. And he was my professor. We started a sports journalism program my senior year. And so he taught sports broadcasting. So I took his class. And so he and I still see each other, obviously, when he's at the games and stuff like that. So it's nice to be able to see somebody who taught you around, on the same trail. But I mean, he was a guy that waited around doing Penn State basketball for a long time, waiting. And I can't even remember the name of the guy who was doing football. Fischer, that's his name. And he was just a prince of a man. But Fran was an institution too. And Steve had to sort of wait for, Fran to, decide it was time to move on. And I don't know how many years Steve waited, but I mean, he's covering Penn State basketball, which is not the most plum of gigs. But he hung around and he did it. And now he's probably been on football for 15, 16, 17 years now. And he's terrific at it. And he's that kind of voice that becomes that, that becomes associated. But he had to hang around. He had to wait, and he had to, just not, I don't want to say take his lumps, but basically like be in a less prestigious position for a long time and sit and wait for it. And so that's the thing that somebody's got to do.
Absolutely. That's life, baby.
It's difficult.
That's life.
It's like, how long do you want to wait? When do you get in it? And then how long do you want to wait for Don? So it's
the top 25 coming out today. Shimitori says that IU would join 14 other Power 6 conference schools that failed to crack the AP top 20 for 100 straight weeks. A win over Illinois would get them close to breaking that streak. I think a win over Illinois would crack that because I think they cracked the top 25 this week. Rick Bozich is a voter. He's got them at 23. It doesn't. But I just think that they've done enough. They've won back-to-back games. They've won back-to-back road games. I mean, back-to-back games in the Big Ten. They just won another road game. They're in the top 6 of the Big Ten, which is, I still think it's as tough as any conference that's out there because it's deeper than the Big 12. But I think they're a top 25 team right now. Does that mean that they're going to beat Illinois? No, they could lose, but Illinois is a damn good team too. So, but if they beat Illinois, I think they're a top 20 team. So, but none of that matters. They just need to keep improving, keep winning. That's all that matters.
Yeah, no, I mean, the more important thing is just for them to be a tournament team. I mean, like the AP top 25 is fun and all, and it's a fun thing to vote for. And it gives you kind of a baseline for where people think they are. But ultimately, it just comes down to, what's their resume look like when the season ends and where do they get in and where are they seated? To me, they are a 7, they're probably trending towards being a 7 seed right now. I think is sort of where you would put them. I don't know that you might put them at the edge of being a top 6, maybe. So obviously I don't think they're in that top 5 range as far as seeding for me right now, but they could be a 6, they could be a 7. Maybe if they trend backwards, take a couple losses, they might be an 8. But the important thing is I think the biggest thing for this team this year is to get in and get in comfortably. Just don't be as long as they're not on pins and needles, on Selection Sunday, I think that's they've accomplished something. I think that's a big deal. It's just getting to the point with this team that it is safely in the tournament come Selection Sunday, that no one's asking any questions, that everyone's just a question of where are they going to be, not if they're going to be in.
What's up next for you, man?
We got a week to do some stuff, man.
I know.
I'm going to go see Gabe Cupps this week. I went to see him play a game last week, and I'm going to try to
up in Ohio,
get down there and get out there and write about him.
Are you going to Ohio to see him?
Ohio, yeah, yeah. And so, just trying to think of some other stuff. I know we'll. It's kind of stay tuned. Got a couple feature pieces I'm working on and want to get some progress with those this week. So we have a little bit of space between now and Illinois to step off the grind a little bit and look at doing some stuff that takes a little bit more time. So, hopefully we'll
make sure you give Dustin a follow him on Twitter and at the Bloomington Herald. He's the hometown guy. When were you with him originally? You were with the Herald
09 to 14. 09 to 14 was my original stint in Bloomington. So
pretty cool.
Great
to have you back, brother. Dustin,
thank you.
Dopirak joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. We're back with more. Have a great day, brother. Brought to you by Remax right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Start the new year out in
Appreciate
style.
it, Jim. I'll see you, man.
Thank you, brother. Hey, is Kyler today or Wednesday?
So right now with his work schedule, excuse me, he can't do anything live. He said he can only do stuff pre-recorded.
What does he do? He can't take like 15 minutes and go somewhere?
I can't remember who he said he works for, but I don't know. By the way, I have some more Friday news for the next several Fridays we can talk about after the show.
Don't fucking tell me. I told you. I knew it.
Yeah,
I knew
did.
it. What did I tell you?
You did. And I've been working on trying to get something taken care of for it.
Oh, my God.
It's the next 3 Fridays,
Okay.
at least for now.
Hey, here you go. You can see this. You ready?
You're trying to give the middle finger?
No, it's not the middle finger. It's the ring finger.
Oh, okay. You showed me earlier. I couldn't tell what you were trying to do.
Can you believe I haven't taken the first thing for pain for this?
You must have a really high tolerance.
Well, the first night it was really, they didn't give me jack when that stuff wore off, the numbing stuff. The funny thing is, I think it was already twisted after I had shattered that bone playing basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like the tip where your fingerprint is completely pointing almost at a 45-degree angle when I lay my hand down flat. Oh.
You only have a few minutes here before Reamer will join you. You'll take your next break when he comes on, and then we'll have 2 segments.
I really wish I could get somebody else to talk about some football or something. Anybody.
Do we have any football news?
Well, the NFL.
Oh, you mean NFL? I thought you meant college football. I didn't know what you were talking about. The Bengals going to the Super Bowl.
Yes. Should have had Matt Taylor on today.
Had the Bengals ever won a Super Bowl?
No, they've only been to one.
And when was that?
Back in 80-something.
Well, old Joey Burrow. I'd tell you what, the next rivalry.
Boomer Esiason.
Could be Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. Now that Tom Brady is is that official? Is he retiring? I know that was like a rumor this weekend and they didn't confirm it, but
no one has told me. So
Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. It is Monday here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends at Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic. Reach out to former IU players, Dr. Steve Green or Brian Evans, if you're having problems getting through the night. Announced earlier, a little bit breaking Indiana news is Chuck Crabb, longtime PA announcer. He's going to hang up the microphone. Let's see, when does that take place officially? I'm sure, I guess, at the end of this season. 5 decades, man. 1973 graduate of Indiana. So he graduated from IU 2 years after the arrival of Bob Knight. Started working in IU athletics. He's been an associate athletic director for facilities since 1990, but most widely known as the PA announcer for the last 45 years. He replaced Bert Laws in that role for both football and basketball in 77, and has been a voice that Hoosier fans have been hearing for years and years. He's been involved in the Olympics, all kinds of things he's been able to work in. Tons of Big Ten championships. Congratulations, Chuck. We'll have to get him on the show soon. So he's been on with us before. Congratulations to him. Former Indiana tight end Payton Hendershot invited to the 2022 NFL Combine. His agent announced Sunday night. He's Indiana's career tight ends leader with 136 receptions, 1,479 yards. Man, that's hard to believe that a career tight end, career yardage leader is only 1,400 yards. Nearly 1,500, but use the tight end more, guys. The in-state native led the Hoosiers with 46 catches, 543 yards, and 4 touchdowns in 2021. He was the leading receiver. He finished second among the Big Ten's tight ends, receptions 11th nationally, yardage 15th, and touchdowns 26th. So good luck to him as he tries to put together his next career. Speaking of Indiana football, they have a JUCO recruit, Cameron Cooper from Athens, Texas. JUCO jumped into the top 10 of the rankings. So Indiana's recruiting football is continuing to amazingly do well. So we could be having a resurgence next year for the football program. Let's hope. I was off this weekend, obviously, at Montverde. Talked about that. What an incredible group of talent. And Hoosier fans were going to be very, very happy once Jalen Hood-Schifino arrives. Watching him with the ball was fun. He seems to be looking in 2 different directions at all times. He's aware of what is going on the court. He's not telegraphing passes. He is paying attention to what's going on everywhere. When he doesn't have the ball, he's moving. He's big enough that he can get loose underneath, get rebounds. He can shoot. He can get up. He's athletic, plays hard defense. He could play right now for Indiana without question. But he's going to be a great addition to this team next year as they continue to grow under Mike Woodson. And that has to be great for these recruits to see the growth of this team, what Mike Woodson is doing with this team. That he didn't have that to sell before, and he was doing a good job of selling. Well, now when you've got a resume of what you've done at Indiana, well, that helps tremendously. And I think you'd be hard pressed not to look at what this team has done and just see progression. The loss to Syracuse, it sucks for what it does to the resume, but it is what it is. They've got wins that are far superior to that. The loss to Wisconsin sucks as a loss, but fortunately, it does not show up as the fact that they had a 22-point lead and lost. It doesn't show up that they've lost there 19 consecutive times. It just shows up as a loss to a team that's potentially bucking for a number 1 seed. So it doesn't kill them. The win would have been great. Now you beat them at home. Okay, fine. Worry about ending that streak, that road streak next year with Wisconsin. Just get the win this season, because that will continue to move Indiana up the line. Right now, I think they're a 6 seed, to be honest with you. I know that they may not be listed as that. They're playing at a 6 seed level. And you beat Illinois, there's no way you're not at a 6 seed level, because that's basically in the top 24. And I think they're going to be in the top 25 this week. I do. I think they're going to be in, those last either 23rd, 4th, or 5th. Probably closer to 24th or 5th. Maybe not. Maybe they don't get in there. Maybe they're just still close. I find that hard to believe. Where is that? I had that pulled up earlier. Oh, well. But how about the NFL this weekend? John wants me to take a break. Or we could have just kept going and got the next segment a little short.
Sure. I would do it now.
Oh, okay. We'll do it now. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Whether it's a celebration. Let's talk NFL. And where did you go this weekend? I know there was some good stuff going on because somebody was up there.
Up where? Saturday I was.
Hey, your mic's not on. It's come through something else, Reamer. Your mic's on, but it's not your mic. It's not your regular mic.
All right, hold on a sec.
You really? It sounds good.
Power beats. There we go.
Now you'll tell the difference when he switches it.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
It's a good mic.
How are you?
Well.
Yeah, it is. How was your weekend?
It was good. It was Saturday was me watching 3 of my guys play.
Where were you?
Started out Muncie Central watching their City of Champions tournament that they started this year. And then ran to Noblesville. And then went to Wolfie's on Morse to watch the second half of the IU game, have lunch. Then drove to Oak Hill.
That sounds like
Wolfie's
a good restaurant just because of the name.
Yeah, Wolfie's is good. They've got 3. Their first one was on Morse.
There was something going on this weekend.
Nothing huge.
Ross Bunnell, aka RBO Sprint, took a picture of this. Is apparently it's a long lost chain in like Kentucky in the Midwest that still exists. Yeah, Rax. He posted that. And I was like, that looks pretty good. I
saw it the other day. I saw him post it the other day.
Where you live in Bloomington?
No, but I've heard.
Oh, there was one in Bloomington. Wasn't there a Rax right there?
One of anything usually doesn't work here, but it probably was.
Wasn't the Rax on? I can't remember the name. Just south, right across the street from, just south of where the Holiday Inn is, or the Ramada used to be. Or the name. What's the name of the road that comes in off the first exit from the north? What's that road called in Bloomington?
College Avenue?
Yeah, maybe.
46?
46, south of 46, north of 17th.
Probably on college or Walnut or something.
Hold on, let me look. God damn it, you think I'd know that? We can talk NFL, by the way. I watched that stuff.
That was fun,
there
man.
You go. You got an NFL friend today.
Well, I just want to mix it up.
I used to watch a whole lot more than I do now.
Walnut.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Over 48 months, and you can always get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. It's Monday. Indiana Sports Beat Radio brought to you by our good friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry down in Sellersburg. If you're in the Southern Indiana area and you want that championship smile, go see our good friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry. Dr. J will get you squared away. We're joined now by Jim Reamer. Jimbo, how are you, sir?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me on again.
Lots of basketball over the weekend, man, of all kinds. Everybody was everywhere. You were all over the place. People in College Park, Maryland. I was down in Montverde, just going on everywhere that time of year. And the basketball is getting better.
Yeah, it's getting more important, especially high school wise, as teams are starting to tune up and even resting a couple guys. But just tune up for what's coming up in March.
Yeah, isn't it funny how the importance seems to ratchet things up in intensity and every other level?
Yeah, there's always a lull, especially when you don't. I mean, obviously, college is different because conference play is the entire second 2/3 of your schedule, so you don't really get a chance to do that at the college level, but at the pro and the high school level, this is that time of year when you get that gap where there's not that the games don't matter, but you might be trying some more things and doing different things just to see if it's going to work and see what any nuances you can add to what you're doing. And then if they don't work, you throw it away and you spend the last 2 weeks really honing in on sectionals, or at the NBA level, you rest a bunch of guys, and sometimes the games this time of year don't matter as much, at least to teams that feel like they're a lock to make the playoffs or a lock to not make the playoffs. But of course, that's why we have the NFL, and that's why you sit on your couch all day yesterday for what was it, 8 hours watching. What did I watch? Purdue, Ohio State, and then 2 football games, and then closed it out with a little West Coast basketball, and then went to bed.
Hey, how lucky is Penn State? Purdue right now. They get that win yesterday, and what was an overtime win over Illinois?
Mm-hmm.
They could be 5-5. They are so close to being 5-5 in the Big Ten right now.
Yeah,
that would have been unbelievable if that were the case, but it's not. But I mean, that's how close it is in the Big Ten, folks. Purdue was thought to be, the best team, which they're good, but some people have figured them out a little bit. But they're 4th in the Big Ten right now. Like I said, they're this close to being 5-5, which the first team that's even record would be Michigan. They're down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th. So that would be in danger of I don't want to say of missing the tournament because their overall record would be fine, but I look at an Iowa, they're 4-5, but their overall record's 14-6. So they're probably going to be okay. Michigan's in trouble. They got to start winning some games or they're not going to make the tournament this year. Michigan's 4-4 in the conference and 10-8 overall.
Unfortunately, they beat Indiana though, so
that helps, but that's still
sucks. I just meant it sucked for IU.
Well, yeah. The games Indiana's lost. Penn State, Michigan, and Syracuse. Those 3 losses are just nasty, ugly. You hate the Wisconsin one because of the situation you had them in, but at least that doesn't show up on paper. It just shows up as a loss. But yeah, you're right. Indiana, man, they're bucking for I mean, if they keep playing like this, they're bucking for a 5-6 seed.
Yeah, if they can keep that up. I mean, what Race Thompson's done the last 2 games, and really for a good portion of the Big Ten season, his consistency has been his ability to score. He's actually cut down a little bit on his assist. Well, I'm looking at his game log right now. He had that 1 assist game and that 1 8 assist game, and that seems to be an outlier. But what he's done during the Big Ten season has been phenomenal for Indiana. He's just been, especially the last 2 games, where he's scoring. He's taking a little bit of the load off of Trace, and that's going to come into hand. That's going to come into play. He's even, what is he? He's 5 for his last 9 from the 3-point line, 2 for 2 in each of his last 2 games. That's got to be a little unexpected. But if he can hit that shot at just a 33% clip, which is mathematically the equivalent of shooting 50% from the floor, if he can hit that shot 33% of the time, that's just a different weapon for Indiana. And I don't think there's been any surprise that's helped them here this last streak. What have they won? 4 of the last 5, 5 of the last 7. Purdue's issue, at least on the surface, appears that neither one of their point guards, and depending on how you view Ivy, but neither one of their point guards, I look at Hunter, I look at Thompson as their 2 main primary ball handlers that initiates offense. Neither one of them are guys that at the Big Ten conference season get downhill and create shots for others. They're both around. I mean, Hunter's at 2 assists per game. Thompson's 1.3 assists per game. Their main assist guys are Ivy, who of course definitely gets downhill. He's constantly hunting that. And then it's Sasha Stefanovic, who usually will attack a closeout. That's how he gets downhill. He'll attack a closeout, and then he'll make the next read. And then it's Travion Williams, who is only playing half the game. I mean, Travion Williams is probably their best passer. That's kind of what Purdue's problem is they don't get much shot creation from the perimeter. Everything is based around sucking everything into the paint and hoping to create kickouts to guys like Thompson, who's a good shooter, and and Hunter, who's shooting the ball decently, and then of course Stefanovic, who's brilliant from beyond the 3-point line.
Absolutely, and Indiana now gaining that confidence moving forward. You got a game this week against Illinois. You have a week off to prepare for that. Is that too much time when you're kind of when you're starting to get things rolling? Is there something is too much time for that to prepare for that?
No, I think you handle it differently. You look at obviously college, you don't get a chance to develop a rhythm like you do at the high school level. Of course, NBA this time of year, nobody's practicing. It's mostly game prep and shoot arounds. College this time of year, it's mostly game prep and shoot around. What they'll probably have is they'll have to work in their day off, and then they'll probably have 2 practices where they really go at it, and they'll work on things. They'll do more than just prepare for their next game or sort of iron out what some of their mistakes are. This will be, you'll see 2 legitimate practices probably this week, and you may even see them put some stuff in early in this time off, and then spend the rest of the week working on it. Just things they want to add to their offense, and to some extent, they might even be planning these things well in advance. Like, this is the time of year we're going to add this. This is the time of year we're going to start to turn in this direction, because they do have that week off. And I don't know. I suppose college-wise, college athlete, you start to develop a rhythm of playing every 4 days or so. It might be a little bit of a distraction. But I also think they're the time of year in the semester, too, where they can – it's probably not as tough, academically, where they're spending a lot of time. Obviously they have to maintain what they're doing the start of the semester, but it's not like they're rolling into – midterms or anything like that. That probably comes later in February. Do they still have midterms, college? I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on what class you're in, I think.
True. Yeah.
But big man, Trace Jackson Davis. I want to talk. I'm gonna throw this out there, and it's dumb, it's crazy because this is not based on anything. This is just I don't think he leaves.
No. Well,
I don't think he leaves because he's not a projected second round pick right now. He's on the bubble for that. And I don't think no matter how well Indiana does this year, it's going to raise that much for one thing, because Race Thompson is his improvement. If he continues to improve, it will slightly overshadow Trace Jackson Davis if he adds that, continues to add the 3-point shot, because he becomes a much more dangerous weapon of being able to step inside and outside, rebound, finish at the rim. He's a double machine. Well,
they both are. I mean, they both are. It's good to have both of them.
Absolutely. I think he doesn't. I think he comes back, because I also think he knows what's coming in and how good they can actually be next season.
Here's what's becoming more and more apparent, and you could easily dig it up, but you look at, it's more and more important when you enter the NBA that your floor be as high as possible when you come out of college. Obviously, the top of the draft is based on ceiling. Absolutely. But there's also been more and more guys drafted in the lottery that have not made it to their second long-term contract. And it's because their floor is low enough to where they're not even being considered for rotations at the NBA level. So when you're at that level, you don't have, it's not just about, obviously the people who are like, yeah, you get that money, you get paid, blah, blah, blah. That first contract, that money gets spent pretty quickly. And if you want to sustain yourself, this is what Cody Zeller understood. And up to now, Trace Jackson Davis is obviously, this is his third year, so he stayed longer than Cody did. But if your floor is to the point where you can't participate, you can't contribute at the NBA level, then you're at risk of being nothing more than a journeyman beyond your first contract. Or in the case of guys who don't get drafted in the first round, you're basically relegated to receiving minimum contracts. Now that's fine. That's more money than most people make. And if you have a long career doing that, you can definitely create a successful life if you manage your money well. But that's not what a lot of these people are thinking. And this is not what a lot of people think the NBA life is like. And it's also not, to me, someone who valued college, someone who valued most of the college experience. I wasn't a big party campus guy, but I valued the academic side of it. Not that I was a great student, but I valued, the education, what it was teaching me, how I was going to apply it. But if you're a guy like Trace who can live in the luster of Indiana basketball, there is no reason for him to leave if he's not going to be drafted in the first round, because he would want to push his floor up as high as possible before he leaves college.
And he can't do that this year at all. I think that and again, the first thing, I do not say that someone is or is not ready for the NBA. I have learned that there's only one group that can tell if someone is ready and is not ready for the NBA. That's the NBA. If they draft you, you're ready. By ready, that doesn't mean ready to go start. That doesn't mean ready to go play. That means ready to go into their system. They may think that you could be ready, or they may see you as a potential project, but they want you now because they like your potential, and they think that within a year or two, they're going to have you where they want you, and they don't want to risk losing you. Romeo Langford was one of those. He wasn't a starter. What's the first thing that they did? They started working on his shot, but they wanted to get him because he's got this kind of freakish athletic ability to get to the rim, length, things that just aren't naturally that everybody just doesn't have. Now his contract was his first contract a 3-year?
Well, they're all 3 years with fourth year, or they're all 2 years with third and fourth year options is basically how.
So he's in his third year, right?
Right. And the issue for him will be, look, you'll see next year he won't get his extension, which means he'll basically go into next year with the possibility of being an unrestricted free agent. And look, he could still play his way into some big money, but if he doesn't, he becomes an unrestricted free agent after that, or Boston decides to let him go, then you're looking at a guy who was drafted just outside the lot, or was he in the lottery? Hold on a second. 19. When was he drafted here? What year was he drafted? I'm going backwards. Hold on a second. Oh, I know what I did. I did it too soon because I wanted to talk about guys who hadn't made it yet. He was just drafted out. He was drafted the last pick of the lottery, basically. He was drafted the last pick of the lottery. But you look at some of these guys I'm going through here. 2018 draft. You're looking at a guy like Kevin Knox, who was drafted 9th. Probably is not going to get his second contract. You're looking at Jerome Robinson, who was a lottery pick, is not going to get a second long-term contract. In fact, he's already been kind of bounced around a little bit. You look at the 2017 draft, you're talking about Dennis Smith Jr., Frank Ntilikina, Josh Jackson, who was drafted 4th overall. These dudes, Malik Monk, these dudes are not getting their second long-term contract, all lottery picks. I could go down all the way to Anthony Bennett, the year Oladipo was drafted. Here's the 4th pick or the first pick of the draft. Never made it to his second contract. That was the Cody Zeller draft. So Ben McLemore never made it to his second contract.
And Trace Jackson Davis does not need the money.
No.
So
not from a family perspective, no.
Yeah. And again, I am not saying whether he's ready or not ready. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he is not in the best position from a draft perspective, in my opinion, to maximize his talents, to maximize what he can get out of the draft if he waits another year. Like I said, if he was projected to go, that's a different story. He's not. He is a bubble. He's a second-round bubble guy. And if you're having the season that he's having and you're a second-round bubble guy, I'm like, okay, I need to stay. I have to listen to these people and work on my right hand and work on a jump shot unless an NBA team is willing to take a chance on me and do that on their own and pay me to do that.
The other thing too, unless you're within the top 10 picks of the second round, you're also probably better off not getting drafted, because at that point you can pick your spot to the most extent. A lot of these guys have options. I've coached guys that were never going to get drafted that had 5 or 6 opportunities to sign with somebody their first year out of college. Sean McDermott being an example of that, who's now with Memphis. He's injured. This is the worst year for him to be injured with although he did just have a baby, but really from a basketball perspective, the worst year for anybody to be injured was this year with all these replacement players, but poor Sean. But Sean was an example of a guy that wasn't going to get drafted, more than likely wasn't going to get drafted. But as soon as the draft was over, his agent knew that he was going to have 4 or 5 options to choose from. And to some extent, he got to pick the team he went to. So I don't know what went into his decision-making, if it was the best contract of the possibilities or the best fit. Now, they ended up making some deals that kind of pushed him a little bit down the depth chart. But for Trace, a guy like that will want to pick his spot if he doesn't get drafted in those first 40 picks or so.
We got to take a quick break. While you're listening, give me a follow on Twitter at Jim Coyle ISB. Appreciate it. Keep you guys updated on everything that we have going at Jim Coyle ISB, at JW Reamers, Jim Reamers, if you want to do that as well. We've got more coming up. I want to talk about, we'll hear from Mike Woodson, Ray Thompson, and Christian Lander. In addition to try to get some NFL talk in real quick. What a great weekend and Super Bowl prep. Back with more, brought to you by our good friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Go see Dr. J. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Whether it's a celebration. Damn, running out of time, man.
We are.
It's too much to talk about.
Now remember, you go to 10:40 today, so it's not as short as you think.
Okay. Well, see, that's a problem. I've got the times written up here
It's just 'cause
one for Monday. Yes, I've got it written for Monday and then right beside it for the rest of the week. But I always look at the rest of the week side. It screws me up. What format changed for the? Where did I just see this? What did Tim Tebow say? Format changed for regional and semi-state.
Where for basketball?
Yeah,
there's no format change.
Did you hear about a format change for high school, regional, or semi-state? No.
No. I suppose there was some talk of switching from a 1-game, 2-game regional to a 1-game regional, and then having a 2-round semi-state. But again, it just alternates the week.
Why change it?
You can have more regional champions. I don't know. People like to put those little plaques on the bottom of their trophy.
You know what? Stop with the handing everybody a trophy crap. You've got 4 divisions.
Yeah.
Go win
Old
one.
man yells
Damn.
at cloud.
Who, Jim or those
just
people?
Kidding.
Because
bull
and I
crap.
get the whole
3 times more you had.
I already get the you live in Carmel thing. You big school guys don't care. I'm like, dude, I was coached at Eminence. 155 kids when they took the vote. We voted against class basketball. So we voted against class basketball because our principal, who officially is the one that cast the vote, he asked us, what did we think? We're like, no, we want to play the big boys, even though we got our butts handed to us.
It's interesting. Down in Kentucky, we have class football, but we have classless basketball.
Well, that was always the cling
more than one.
Yeah, that was always the cling to for us. It was like us in Kentucky were different. You know, we've definitely had class
but
football.
Kentucky does not have the basketball that Indiana has.
Not at the high school level.
Yeah, let's be completely clear about that.
And I don't know what how big their big schools are, but
it's always the Catholic schools in Louisville or Lexington.
But it didn't used to be that way in basketball.
In Kentucky or Indiana?
In Kentucky, it was like that in football, but it wasn't the Catholic schools in basketball.
Or Male and Manual. They're not part of the Catholic schools, but they're still a part of that Louisville.
Ballard used to be good.
Yeah, Ballard.
But
yeah.
Scotty Davenport is now at Bellarmine. So,
I mean, I could do
we're running out of time on this break. We're coming back.
Or on this station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurants.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. Jim Reamer with me, Jim Coyle as well. I was down at Montverde over the weekend. I did not do a post-game show. Couldn't hardly get service, man. That place is, have you been to Montverde?
No.
Yeah. It is, if, this is Orlando, there's a lake, like kind of northwest. Winter Garden is between there and that lake. And then if you were going around the lake a little bit, that's where Montverde is. It's out in the country kind of to get there. Great place. Raucous environment. Well, almost too raucous. The court students stormed the court on that last buzzer beating 3-point shot and knocked tables over, chairs over. I had to grab all my stuff, hold on for dear life. They knocked some girl down. But it was enjoyable as hell watching that play. I got to tell you, Jim, I've said it a couple of times earlier. It was like watching a college freshman team play each other. These guys are all college freshmen right now. Shafino could play. I mean, all of them could play. Scott Clark was tremendous. The kid that's going to LSU for Calvary Christian Academy, I forget his name, was the game's leading scorer, but he was knocking down threes. Just fun to watch that level of play down there. Speaking of which, back closer to home, Indiana getting that road win over Wisconsin. Mike Woodson after the game. I'm sure he was very happy, but let's hear what he had to say.
Well, again, I mean, we set our defense mainly for those two and Scott. because they scored the bulk of their points. And, I mean, we kind of locked in there. I thought everybody who guarded Eric and Russell, you know, were locked in. And, I mean, and they saw bodies. I mean, they weren't able to see gaps where they could make plays off the bounce. And, you know, again, I pay tribute to the guys in the locker room, man, because they handled the game plan extremely well.
Defense, man, is right. Again, they hold another Big Ten team on the road to under 30% shooting, Jim. I mean, this is not an anomaly. They've done this throughout the season. And you've got to get Mike Woodson absolute credit for this. Talked about defense way before the season started, and he's hung his hat on it, and it has paid great dividends.
Well, you just look at the individual talent that they've got that they can put out there at a given time, especially when they play. Well, of course, Rob didn't play against Maryland, but when they can put Finney, Xavier Johnson, and Galloway out there, I mean, their worst defender is probably Xavier Johnson in that group. I mean, including Trace and including Race, and those two guys are interchangeable. You know, now what happens this week playing Illinois, and you know, you look at how Trace battled foul trouble against Purdue. Could be a similar situation with Illinois. This ends up being a pretty important week for Michael Durr, right? You get a week to prepare to play a guy who's probably hit one of his best matchups of the season. This should be a game he gets to play good minutes. If IU feels they need that type of size, but their ability to defend and be their ability to switch out, their ability to hedge, you know, to hard hedge or even blitz ball screens. I think they mostly hard hedge, but the ability to do that and force teams to change directions, force teams to shoot contested shots has been impressive year round, and from pretty much right from the start, with a couple of exceptions.
We've talked about Indiana's sharpshooting Race Thompson, just kidding, who was shooting all of 10% coming into the game in 3-point, but he has hit either 4 straight or 4 of his last 5. He hit 2 of 2 against Maryland, and his shot has never looked bad. No. I said that earlier. It just didn't go in, and everybody just, he's going to stop. Mike Woodson wants him shooting that shot for a reason, and now that's coming to fruition. And that's why people who keep harping about where's Lander? Well, that's you got to let Mike Woodson coach the team. But Race Thompson talking about his prowess from behind the 3-point arc.
I think that it's just the confidence that the coaches give me. I was struggling from the 3-point line pretty much the whole season, and they're urging me to keep shooting it, work on it every single day, after practice, before practice. So, I mean, it was just in time, the hard work you put in will show, and I think that's what it is, and just the confidence that they keep giving me.
That's why I truly believe you're going to see Race Thompson in the NBA. I don't know if he's going to be a long-time player. He just reminds me of Juwan Morgan, who is really all of a sudden working his way. I didn't think Juwan had a shot, and I didn't at the beginning of the season. I didn't really see Race, but he has really. I think he is developing his 3-point shot a little bit sooner than Juwan did. Maybe it just looks a little bit better. He's not gone in as much, but I don't know. I think he's a little more powerful around the rim. They were both double machines. They're very similar. What are your thoughts?
He handles contact in the paint better than what Juwan does. I mean, I think his, again, the shot mechanic stuff, I've always liked it. I thought last year as he was starting to shoot that shot more, I thought that was a good direction for him. From an NBA perspective, that the 3-point shot becomes an awfully long shot for somebody who's just kind of eking it in and somebody who's just getting acclimated to it. But again, it doesn't mean he can't develop it. That's something that Noah Vonleh was able to develop, although he's not been able to stay healthy lately. I thought Noah Vonleh, after sort of a disappointing season in Indiana and definitely a disappointing start to his career, was rounding into a niche sort of 3-and-D power forward, so to speak. A guy who can hit that shot, but then also was good defensively, but Vonleh was never going to be a force in the paint. NBA level, I think Thompson, he's not explosive like Trace. I still see Trace having a higher ceiling, even without a jump shot, because I think Trace's rebounding will translate better because he's a better athlete. He can rebound. You talk about the high point of the ball. When it comes off the rim, Trace is going to get that rebound more than Race will. But he'll get an opportunity, and certainly the better he can shoot, the better off he will be. But he would be, I don't know. I still see Trace having a better future there. But Race is definitely going to add to Indiana with his ability to shoot, expanding.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Howie thinks he reminds him of Daryl Thomas. Shimitori 66 said that now that Race, not that Race wasn't already good, but if he continues to shoot the ball, this could be a Landon Turner type of emergence. So that's all good, positive things that you're talking about, which is good. Justin said Trace is a good tracer. He's elusive. Rim protector, gets fouled consistently. No outside shot, of course. Free throws, he's been doing a lot better at the free throw line. But yeah, they both will have the potential to get drafted. But if having both of them next year, because Indiana would be without a serious piece without Trace Jackson Davis next year. They don't have that. They do not have his replacement on the bench right now. So his replacement would have to come via the portal for them to continue this level of play, in my opinion. But if he stays, oh, holy hell. This will be, they will definitely be challenging for a Big Ten title next year. No doubt. Justin said his high school in 99, the first year class basketball came about, they won the Class A in Tecumseh. Well, there you go. So that's a team that wouldn't have been able to win a state title.
No, it was 99. No, yeah. No, it was 98 was the first year.
Here's a good question. Speaking of Louisville, could you see Kelvin Sampson as Louisville's next head coach?
Yeah, I could.
I just can't see Louisville's, with all the talk of Bruce Pearl, I'm like, there's no freaking way. They cannot hire a Bruce Pearl. They cannot hire a Kelvin Sampson. I just don't think that they can with the position that they're in right now. The NCAA still waiting to get their possibly hand cut off.
Well, in Sampson's case, like the things that he did wrong at Oklahoma are no longer rules violations.
Right.
Now, the things that he did wrong at Indiana.
But he still cheated. And then he did it again.
Right. Well, the things that he did wrong at IU were violating the terms of his punishment, which any parent.
He obviously shows he didn't care about cheating or not cheating, and he brought a bunch of criminals in on top of that. But let's see. Before we run out of time, how about the NFL? We just got a couple minutes left, but man, those games, I'll be honest with you, I didn't bet on them, but there was no way I would have bet on Cincinnati. I did. I just did not think anyone could beat Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City for a shot at going to the playoff or the Super Bowl. And Joe Burrow is without question the coolest cat on the deal. He just doesn't get rattled. I don't know how you can be that dang calm, but he just is.
You got to question the play calling for the Chiefs. I mean, we can sit here and, you can blame the offensive line. You can blame Mahomes, whatever you want to do. Mahomes looked rattled. There's no question. He looked out of sorts. He was definitely inaccurate on top of holding the ball too long in a lot of instances. But you got to question the play calling. How Cincinnati drops 8. What was it? I heard a stat. They dropped 8 on 50 or 65% of the pass or plays in the second half. They dropped 8. And Cincinnati never did try to exploit them up the middle. They never did try to run. It didn't seem like they tried. Everything seemed to be toward the edge, whether it be, stretch plays or screen plays or, anything along those lines. Everything was wide. There was nothing up the gut. In the first half, I thought they were pretty successful. And Indy Nation puts in our chat room, Joe was an escape artist, and he was able to get away. And that's stuff Mahomes would do. Mahomes would get away. And the other difference there was in the first half, Mahomes would get away, or in previous games, Mahomes would get away and get downfield. This game, especially in the second half, he would get away and basically go wide and bail out the defensive, the defensive lineman chasing him. And, I really question the play calling more than anything. But, yeah, I had 3 parlays with the Chiefs in them, and all 3 of them went boom right
You
from the
can't
beginning.
do that. See, that's one thing I've learned, man. If you got to have multiple parlays, you got to mix up. You can't let somebody take you down. But
they were pretty reasonable.
I hear you. Hey, we didn't get to hear from Christian Lander today, which means we will hear from Christian Lander tomorrow. In addition to that, you're going to hear from Jalen Hood-Schifino tomorrow. You might hear from his mother, Angel Schifino, tomorrow as well. Looking forward to that. A great weekend for him. What a great family, by the way. Enjoyed meeting them and running into the IU fans down there as well. Like I said, Joaquin family, Jason Carroll, Jody. She's volunteer from Kokomo. And there was a few others in the stands I didn't get to meet, but great to have those people down there listening. Man, it's been another fun one. I can't thank you guys enough. As always, you are on top of it, and can't do it without you guys. No reason for us to be here without you all. Big thanks, of course, as always, to Don Fischer, to Charlie Miller, Jim Reamer, John, the producer, and most importantly, you guys. Without you, like I said, no reason for us to be here. We're back tomorrow to do it all again. Go out and have yourselves a great day. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.